The universe doesn't owe you shit, and that's a gift. Let's get this out of the way right now. You are not special. Not in the stars aligned for your greatness kind of way. The universe didn't sign a contract promising you happiness, a fulfilling job, a partner who gets your memes, and a coffee that never goes cold. That contract? It doesn't exist. Never did. But here's the twist. That's actually good news. See, there's this modern epidemic of entitlement dressed up as spirituality. People waking up pissed off because their morning didn't go according to the Pinterest board in their head. The barista spelled my name wrong. Traffic again? Why is everyone so annoying today? Here's a revolutionary idea. Maybe the universe isn't out to get you, maybe it just doesn't give a damn. And that is fucking liberating. Because once you stop expecting the world to be fair, soft, and catered to your emotional comfort, you actually start living. That's the Stoic wake-up slap. Marcus Aurelius didn't run around crying because the Roman Senate didn't give him a participation trophy. The man ruled an empire and still had time to write journal entries like, "Life is short, get over yourself." Not a direct quote, but pretty close. The world is chaotic, unfair, random. That's not pessimism, that's the user manual nobody gave you at birth. When your coffee gets cold, that's physics. When your boss is a jackass, that's biology. When people ghost you, that's psychology. Not karma, not fate, not a personal insult from the cosmos. Most people walk around like unpaid extras in a badly written soap opera where they're the misunderstood hero and the universe is the villain. Why is this happening to me? They ask, as if their heartbreak deserves a soundtrack and a rain scene. Here's a better question. Now that it happened, what the hell am I going to do about it? That's where Stoicism hits different. It doesn't offer motivational fluff. It hands you a cold glass of reality and says, drink it. It's not here to coddle your feelings, it's here to sharpen your focus. Because when you stop expecting the universe to apologize for being what it is, you get your power back. You stop being a victim of life's randomness and start becoming the author of your response. That's where strength is built. Not in comfort, but in the raw, unfiltered, shit's messy, let's move moments. So yeah, the world doesn't owe you anything, but that means you owe yourself everything. And that, my friend, is the best damn deal you're ever gonna get. Control Freaks Anonymous. Learning what's actually in your hands. Let's play a quick game. I'll name something and you tell me if you control it. The weather? Your boss's mood? Your ex's new relationship? The goddamn Instagram algorithm. If you said yes to any of those, congratulations, you've been lying to yourself harder than a drunk guy texting his ex at 2 a.m. And if you said no to all of them, good. That means you're ready for one of the hardest truths the Stoics ever dropped. You control almost nothing, but the few things you do control, that's where your entire life is built. Enter Epictetus, ancient philosopher, professional mood killer. He said, some things are up to us, some things are not. That's it. No footnotes, no spiritual fine print, no room for whining. Either it's in your hands or it isn't. And if it isn't, stop acting like it should be. But here's the tragedy. Most people spend 90% of their emotional energy trying to twist reality into something more convenient, like toddlers screaming at the ocean because it won't move out of the way. You don't control your boss yelling at you, you control how you respond. You don't control someone ghosting you, you control what story you tell yourself afterward. You don't control the traffic, you control whether you arrive late with grace or with your blood pressure in flames. Control is not about domination, it's about knowing where to stop wasting your energy. You know why you're exhausted, burned out, and one inconvenience away from a public meltdown? Because you've been trying to micromanage the goddamn universe instead of managing your own thoughts. It's like trying to rearrange a hurricane with a spoon. And then people say, but I like to plan. Yeah, planning's great. But clinging to your plan like it's your emotional support animal, that's where you lose. Make the plan, sure, but when life slaps it out of your hand like a bully in a cafeteria, you'd better know how to pivot or drown in your own expectations. A Stoic doesn't freak out when reality doesn't follow the script. They rewrite the damn script. That's the secret sauce. Control is power, but only if you apply it in the right direction. Inward, not outward. Your attention, your habits, your reactions, those are your tools. Everything else? Just noise, background static on the human playlist. So, next time life throws a wrench into your perfect little Pinterest board, don't scream at the sky like a lunatic. Just ask yourself one thing. Is this in my control? If yes, do something. If no, shut up, breathe, and move the hell on. That's not weakness. That's stoic discipline, the kind that builds unshakable people in a world full of emotional ping-pong balls. Drama kings, Wi-Fi tantrums, and the myth of big problems. Let's get real. Some of y'all need to stop mistaking mild inconvenience for personal tragedy. Your Wi-Fi is slow. Your coffee order came with almond milk instead of oat. Someone didn't like your tweet. And suddenly, it's a "why does the universe hate me" day. Seriously, there are people out there battling cancer, burying loved ones, losing everything in a fire, and you're spiraling into an emotional abyss because your Uber driver didn't take the fastest route? This, right here, is why the Stoics would be laughing their asses off if they had to share a group chat with modern society. Because what most people today call trauma, the Stoics would call Tuesday. Here's a rule of thumb. If your crisis would make Marcus Aurelius raise an eyebrow and say, "Really?" It's probably not a real crisis. But we love drama, don't we? We marinate in it. We turn bad days into epic sagas, starring ourselves as the misunderstood hero in a world that just doesn't get us. The soundtrack? Lo-fi beats and self-pity. We take a 2-star review from a stranger and turn it into an identity crisis. We lose one follower and start questioning our worth as a human being. We treat a delayed text like a breakup and a rude comment like psychological warfare. Here's the truth bomb. Most of your suffering isn't caused by what happens, it's caused by your melodramatic interpretation of it. Epictetus said it best. We are not disturbed by events, but by the views we take of them. Translation, that waiter didn't ruin your night. You did, when you turned a missing side of guac into a Greek tragedy. And no, this doesn't mean you have to become a cold, emotionless brick wall. It means you stop giving Oscars to emotions that don't even deserve screen time. Not every annoyance is a life lesson. Not every discomfort needs a monologue. Sometimes, you just need to shut up, breathe, and get on with your damn day. Ask yourself, is this really a problem or just an inconvenience I'm overreacting to? Am I suffering or am I choosing to suffer longer than necessary? Am I upset or just addicted to the drama of being upset? Because drama is addictive. It gives you a story, a reason to feel important, but it's a junk food version of meaning, empty calories for the soul. The Stoic mindset is this: feel it? Cool. But don't build a personality around it. So the next time the world doesn't go your way, and spoiler alert, it won't, don't act like it's a personal attack from the gods. Sometimes, life just hands you almond milk. You're allowed to not like it. Just don't turn it into a fucking opera.
The rage trap. Why anger is just ego wearing a cape. Let's talk about anger. That seductive little gremlin in your brain that whispers, "Flip the cable, it'll feel amazing." And for about 3 seconds, it does. Until you realize all you did was break your own table, not the problem. Anger feels like power. It makes your chest puff up, your voice louder, your fists tighter. But here's the catch. It's fake power. It's ego in a superhero costume. You're not becoming stronger. You're just becoming more reactive, more irrational, and way easier to manipulate. Seneca, the Stoic version of your wise grandpa with zero patience for drama, wrote an entire essay on anger. Know why? Because he saw what we still refuse to admit. Anger is the dumbest, smart-sounding emotion we have. It promises justice, but delivers tantrums. It promises release, but gives you regret. It promises dominance, but makes you look like a toddler who missed nap time. Let's get brutally honest. Nobody respects the person who loses their shit. You scream in traffic, The car in front still isn't moving. You shout in a meeting, congrats, you just lost credibility. You go nuclear on your partner over dirty dishes, hope you enjoy sleeping next to your guilt. See, the problem with anger isn't that you feel it, you're human, of course you'll feel it. The problem is when you let it drive. You become the Uber passenger who hands the keys to the drunk friend and says, yeah, this'll end well. The Stoics had one rule: never act in the heat of the moment. Why? Because heat burns bridges, and usually your face. The true flex isn't blowing up. It's breathing through it and choosing strategy over spectacle. That email you never sent? Stoic win. That insult you swallowed and answered with silence? Stoic black belt move. People think being calm is weak. Nah. Try staying composed when every part of you wants to explode. That's fucking strength. You want a real-life example? Let's say your boss humiliates you in front of the team. Your instinct? Lash out, burn it all, lock out like a rebel. Feels heroic in your head. But what if, just what if, you kept your cool, handled it like a pro, and used it to your advantage later with dignity and leverage? Now you're not just pissed, you're dangerous. Anger is your ego trying to prove it's in control, but the second you react blindly, you hand that control over to someone else. They push your buttons, and you dance like a puppet with rage for strengths. Here's a tip. Next time you feel your blood boiling, ask yourself, is this really worth my peace? Because spoiler, it almost never is. And if it is, you'll handle it better without the lava coming out of your mouth. So yeah, feel the fire, but don't burn your own house down with it. Control your anger or be controlled by it. Those are the only two options. You're going to die, so stop living like a coward. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. You're going to die. Yes, you. No matter how many green juices you drink, how many crystals you charge under the full moon, or how many mindfulness apps you download, spoiler alert, you're still gonna end up as ash, bone dust, or worm food. That sounds morbid. That's because you've been lied to your whole life. You've been told to avoid death like it's a bug in the system. Talk about everything except that one brutal, inevitable truth. But the Stoics? They didn't just talk about it. They hugged it like an old friend. They called it memento mori, meaning, remember, you must die. Not to be edgy, but to be awake. Because when you stop pretending you've got unlimited time, you stop wasting the limited time you do have. Look around. People are out here sleepwalking through life, waiting for the right moment to do everything. I'll quit this job when the stars align. I'll start that book after one more productivity podcast. I'll finally tell her how I feel when Mercury isn't in retrograde. Stop. Just stop. The Stoics knew the harshest truth is the most freeing. You're on a timer. That awkward conversation you're avoiding, that's your courage test. That dream you're stalling, that's your life slipping away by the minute. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, and unofficial destroyer of excuses, wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." In other words, if today was your last shot, would you really spend it doom scrolling, replying to passive-aggressive texts, or fighting with strangers on Reddit? Death isn't the enemy. Wasted life is. You don't need to become a skydiving, camel-riding, adrenaline junkie. You just need to live like you give a damn. Say what needs to be said, do what scares you, walk away from people and situations that make your soul itch. And for God's sakes, stop acting like you're immortal with time to burn. Because that's the most cowardly thing you can do. Live in a constant state of delay, indecision, and overthinking while pretending you're being careful. You're not being careful, you're being scared. And fear doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you small. So yeah, one day it will be your funeral playlist echoing off the walls. But until then, you've got today, this messy, unpredictable, brutally honest day. Use it like someone who knows the price of time. Because when death stops being your fear, it starts being your compass. Forget happiness, be whole. Here's a controversial take. Happiness is overrated. Yeah, I said it. The modern world is obsessed with chasing happiness like it's some shiny, permanent prize you unlock if you just buy the right journal, drink the right smoothie, and meditate until your brain levitates. You know what the Stoics thought of that? They didn't care at all, because they understood something we've completely forgotten. You don't need to be happy to live a damn good life. You just need to be whole. Let's break that down. Happiness is a slippery little bastard. One minute you're over the moon because your post hit 1,000 likes, and the next you're spiraling because your Amazon package is delayed. It's volatile, it depends on circumstances, validation, mood, weather, hormones, sleep, Wi-Fi strength, basically everything you don't control. So why the hell would you build your life around it? Being whole, that's different. That's solid. That's when you're aligned with your values even when life sucks. When you keep your word even if no one notices. When you show up even when you don't feel like it. When your peace isn't hooked up to the mood swings of the outside world. The Stoics didn't care about living their best life. They cared about living a virtuous life. Not in the churchy, holier-than-thou sense, but in the I know who I am and I don't betray that kind of way. They knew that meaning doesn't come from temporary highs. It comes from consistency, clarity, and character. Here's a reality check. You're not going to be happy all the time. You're going to be tired, frustrated, lost, angry, heartbroken, and none of that means you're failing at life. It means you're living. So stop asking, am I happy? And start asking, am I honest with myself? Am I doing what matters even when it's hard? Can I sleep at night knowing I didn't sell myself out today? Because that's what wholeness feels like. Not a dopamine rush, but a quiet sense of inner respect. And here's the kicker. When you stop obsessing over happiness, it shows up anyway. Not as a goal, but as a byproduct of living with depth and integrity. So yeah, fuck the fake smiles, the toxic positivity, the good vibes only crowd. You want to live like a Stoic? Then build a life that can stand even when happiness takes the day off. Be whole, be grounded, be real. And happiness? Let it visit when it wants. You don't need it to survive. Because the truth is, a strong, complete human beats a happy, fragile one every single time.